Okay, welcome to Mr. Dodger's neighborhood. Today, we're not going to do a lot of silly talking because we wanted to have today's podcast dedicated to Vin Scully, his passing, recent passing. I think that we owe him a tribute on our podcast since we talk about the Dodgers all the time. It wouldn't be right for hardcore Dodger fans not to acknowledge his contributions and our sad loss. Wouldn't you agree, Loxi?
I was devastated. I mean, I was. I mean, he's 94. I know he had a really good life, and God love him. But the voice of my springs and summers since I can remember remembering or hearing a baseball game.
Yeah. You know, you think about somebody that was that energetic and lively all the way to the end of his career. I think that's what makes it particularly sad. I mean, if you saw that he was, losing it a little bit, but he was so healthy when he was in the White House receiving his
The congressional
award.
Yeah.
He was standing next to Bruce Springsteen, and they were both really slim and healthy. And I was thinking, God, this guy, man, I want to be him. I want to be like that in my life. He was just perfect, in so many different ways. I think about Vince Scully, the things that impressed me about him is number one is that guy was doing what he did way before you and I were born. And we're not exactly, teenagers anymore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was like 1950 or right around there. I mean, he was in Brooklyn as an announcer, and it continued all the way up until, I don't know what year it was that he stopped. But
2016. I was there at the last game.
Okay. And there aren't many people that do that anymore where they put in that many years.
67 years.
It's incredible, and I guess it brings home the thought that some people work because they just enjoy it. It had nothing to do with money, I'm sure. It was his love, his passion, and he just kept doing it. And for those of us who like what we're doing, being told all the time, "Oh, you ought to retire." I mean, that guy could have retired a long time ago.
No, he loved it. He loved the Dodgers. He loved the game. The way he would tell stories. I mean, I could be cooking dinner and he'd tell a story and then go back to whatever happened in the play or the swing and a miss or, what did he used to say? There's a little nubber. All that. I mean, it was just, it was effortless. It was effortless. It was an art.
It's funny when you say about the stories. I didn't think about this until you just said this. But baseball is about sitting back, relaxing, talking like we do when we go to the games.
Right.
I mean, at least the first 6-7 innings. I mean, you're basically chatting, you're eating, you're enjoying the time, and it's those last few innings where it gets exciting and you start, really getting to the edge of your seats. But he would be there as if he's sitting next to you, right?
Exactly.
Talking.
Yeah. He talked to just you.
Yeah.
Or just me. I felt like he was just talking to me.
He's so polished. I think that you said this over lunch today, that because I have to believe it's true. Is that he's the longest lasting announcer for any team.
Any one team. Yeah.
Any one team. Yeah. I always refer to Chicago when I'm talking about baseball, but we had Harry Carey. And Harry Carey came from St. Louis, I believe. He was in the White Sox for several years. Then he went to the Cubs, where he became an iconic figure, and everybody in the country knew Harry Carey. But his career span pales in comparison with Vin Scully. And I just wonder if there's anybody that even comes close to the number of years he clocked in. You know what I mean?
I don't think it can ever be replicated either. Just that the times are different, and now you've got 2 or 3 to a booth, and they're calling the game or whatever. It's just different. It's
because people are different too. He was somebody from that greatest generation, and so likable, so genteel. Class act professional and everything. And it's very, very hard to find people like that anymore.
He was very smart, too. He said that somebody asked him why he never said what political affiliation he was. And he said, well, I never shared that because I'd lose half my audience. I mean, it was just so him,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was just genuine. There was no agenda there. He was like our Stephanie put it really well yesterday. She said it was LA's grandpa.
Yeah. You know what I really loved was when you go to the games and, before the game started, he would pop up on the big screen and he would kind of introduce you to what was going on. He talked about the game before, the winning or losing streak that the Dodgers were involved in, and what was going to happen in this game, who the pitchers were, and all that. I just love that, man. I really miss that when I'm at the park.
Yep. Yeah, well, we used to take our radios with us because you couldn't hear them unless you had your radio. And there was another quote somebody said that you didn't believe what was happening on the field until Vin Scully told you that it happened. And he would, the background, he'd get on something like, say, if the background of the pitcher or the player, even if it was from another team, he would know where they came from, what his parents did, who they were, how many siblings they had. Or I remember, like, on 4th of July, I'd be watching it, or some Memorial Day, and he'd have some kind of stories about a veteran or different parts of history. I mean, it was all up here. I don't think he really used a whole lot of notes. And before computers, he had nothing but just his mind and his gift of prose. He was amazing.
He was obviously a class reporter, too. He did his homework before each and every game to be able to do that. He was a treasure. Okay, so what we thought we would do today is talk about some of his famous quotes. These are Vin Scully quotes, and see if we can make sense out of some of them. And then at the end, you could add a quote that you were talking about earlier, and I'll add a quote that I recently heard of him. Okay, the first one is, losing feels worse than winning feels good. What does that mean to you?
That when you lose, it's a more intense emotion.
Okay.
I think it probably sticks with you more than if it's a big loss, than if it's, winning is great. But the next day you go on with your stuff. But the next day, if you're losing, like, dang,
Yeah. I think about my short athletic career when I was a kid. I think every athlete could tell you that they have nightmares still. It's all the way up to the day they die of that one mistake they made in whatever sport they're playing. It just haunts you. Where winning is a passing thing. And if you're a professional athlete, it feels good for a little while, but then you got spring training coming up and you're right up to the next one and stuff. I don't remember many of the wins that I had as a wrestler in high school, but I remember every time that I lost, man, and it burns you, I can say the same thing about being a trial attorney.
Right.
You win, if you win a lot, that's great, but I honestly don't remember the details of a lot of the ones that have been the big bad ones. But the few that I've lost, oh, man, I think that's true. Okay, so the second one is, it's easier to pick off a fast runner than to pick off a lazy runner. That one is very perplexing. What do you think that means?
Gosh, that is.
I thought maybe what that is that this might be a common sense thing, is that the fast runner is taking a more distance away from the bag to get to second base, where the lazy runner is not taking chances, sticking close to the safe zone.
Maybe a little more unpredictable.
Yeah, maybe. You know that the fast runner is going to be pouring it on.
Your senses are quicker to pick him off.
The fast, okay. Third one is, good is not good when better is expected.
Because it's not the best. He always wanted you to do your best.
Yeah, I think he's talking about being mediocre,
Right.
And good's not good, seldom is good is seldom not good in competition. You got to do what's expected. You got to be better. So, okay, and the last one that was pre-given to me by our producer, it's a mere moment in a man's life between the All-Star game and the Old Timers game.
Life is fleeting. Live it to the fullest, because, well, we know.
Yeah. Well, I think also this one here is when you study sports, and baseball actually I think has a long lifespan for athletes. We get athletes that play for 20 years, right? Some pitchers and stuff. But in other sports, that window of opportunity for you to make money and to, be big in the sport, is quite a bit different than life. I could be in my profession all my life, but an athlete's time is very, very short, and stuff. So All-Star game and the Old Timers game. I guess I'm not in the Old Timers game yet, am I?
No, not yet.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay. All right. So you thought of a quote, something he said.
Gibson hits a home run. He's hurt, both legs. He's hobbling.
A walk-off home run.
It was a walk-off.
And look who's coming up. High fly ball. The impossible has happened.
The enthusiasm, it was like, it was crazy. He was just amazing, and I just loved him.
Yeah. There was somebody that was interviewing him, and they're like, so it was a soft question about, hey, you're getting old, how much more time do you have here on this earth? Do you think about it?
Yeah.
What are your plans? It was after he had retired, and he said, if you want to make God smile, tell him your plans, and I thought that was cool. He was so quick-witted, even all the way to the end.
Just off the tongue, it was like there were never any faux pas or mess-ups that I could ever hear. It was just a gift. I just loved him. I've been missing his voice now since that last game.
Well, I'm glad that we got to talk about this, in case any of our fans are also hardcore Dodger fans and they want to hear a little bit about Vin Scully.
I know who you are.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll miss our time together more than I can say.